Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast where we discuss what it really takes to be healthy and stay healthy in today's modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Simms, and today I am here with Shaté, and we are really going to be talking to you about what it is like to juggle all the things and what happens when you get overwhelmed, and how do you reorganize the plan without feeling like you're constantly drowning and never going to make it to the other side. Because as women, I think we land there too often than not, and we feel shame and guilt about not being able to handle it all. And so I'm really excited for us to have the conversation that we're about to have. And Shaté, do you mind sharing with our listeners who you are, what makes you you, where would we find you on a weekend? Like,
Mm.
yeah, right? You as a human, who are you?
Oh, wow, Tiffany. That feels like a loaded question, but hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here chatting with you as two humans, as
Yes,
two
ma'am.
human women. Um, I'm originally from Houston. I live in the Atlanta area. What makes me me? So I'll start with the what would I be doing on a weekend question. Maybe that feels a little easier to answer. I could be doing a range of things. So I'm obsessed with stories. So I could be tucked away in a couch somewhere reading a book because I'm also an introvert who needs to like be alone to be restored. I also could be caught up in a really deep conversation with my friends over a cocktail somewhere or out roaming the streets with my husband, doing something new and fun. Or I could also be with my family, like laid up on the couch watching movies that we've seen a dozen times already. Like it's any number of those things sort of fill my
Love that.
tank. I love new experiences. Again, I love stories. I love
How long have
humans.
you been married?
Almost 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure that adds to, in the best of ways, like that. How do I get it all done? And how do I show up not only as myself, as my own individual human, but how do I do that while also holding space for the fact that I am a wife and I have a
Yeah.
husband? And
Yeah.
that's important to me too.
Yeah.
How
That's
have you
definitely a lot.
found, how, throughout the years, what have you found that really works for you for finding that harmony in your marriage for career you, person you, and wifey you?
Yeah, that's a little tough to if I'm going to be transparent because they're all important. And so, everything can't necessarily be a priority at the same time. And I think sometimes trying to make everything a priority, you sort of risk putting yourself on the back burner. You sort of
Mhm.
risk losing yourself. And then when you try to like reprioritize yourself, find your voice, find your way, then all of this mind trash starts to come up around, well, are you being selfish? Like, is that right? Aren't you supposed to, put everyone else first? But I think what I've learned and am learning is that, I cannot be my best self to all of these other communities, people, priorities in my life if if I'm not me, like if I am not, right? My therapist always tells me, thank God for her, like the you have to give from your overflow. What's in your cup is for you. The overflow is for everyone else. And so I'm in constant practice trying to understand what is the thing that fills my cup. When I put it in there, how can I put boundaries around what's in my cup without sort of turning on myself and saying, give what's in the cup too, give more. And so that's that's tough.
That's such a real answer.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of women listening very much are probably like nodding right now, like, oh my God, like she just took the words right out of my own mouth, like before
Mhm.
I even opened my mouth to talk. Like, holy cow. Because I think we
Yeah.
do experience that, and I've experienced that too. And I've been fortunate in that through that journey, and it's different for everyone. But what I've learned to be true is that when we, because all of us, even when we are like like pure survival mode, and we are literally just getting by mindlessly through the different things to get to tomorrow, right? And rinse,
Yeah.
wash, repeat, we'll tell the people closest to us and the people that we love, like, you got to fill your own cup, like you got to take care of you. But do we
Hmm.
really know what that means? Like, it's
Mm.
something that we throw around, but I don't really know that we talk about what that means. So what do like and I so asking you what does that mean for you isn't really fair, because you just said, like, I'm figuring this out and I don't really know what that means yet.
I kind of
Oh, awesome.
know.
So tell me, tell us.
I've had to learn. So that means, so I've learned, I think lately that the introversion that I sort of used to joke away, like I have to pay attention to it actually. And so that means sometimes where if I've had a ton of things to do in a day and a girlfriend's having a birthday party across town and I so want to go because I cherish and adore her and I want to celebrate her birthday with her. If I just can't even figure out, like I don't have the energy to even make it to the freeway from where I am, I've had those moments this over the past year where I've been like, girl, like I will take you for cocktails another day, I promise, but I just can't, I cannot today. I don't have anything else today. It is saying I actually do need this time on this couch, like answering to no one but myself in order for me to recharge and restore. It also looks like a number of self-care practices that I employ. So that's like walking, jogging. Walking, my goodness, keeps me sane. It's something I picked up over the pandemic and I haven't let go. It is meditation. I'm not really as consistent with that, but I do it. And then journaling. I've become way more consistent with that because I'm so surprised at how like even just writing it down gets it out. My goodness, therapy. Like, I hope she never tries to break up with me because what would I do without like just the amount of processing? So I used to do a lot of keeping everything in, sort of internalizing it, using it against myself, ruminating on the stories over and over and over and over. So all of these ways helps me to get it out, process it through my body, face the thing, move on. And so all of that I need and I use to take care of myself so that I can be my best self and show up for all the other people and the things that are important to me in my life.
Do you know what I love about what you just shared about self-care
What's
is that
up?
it had nothing to do with a mani-pedi or a massage. It had everything to do with, and you even said it, for so I can move it through my body. It
Hmm.
involved movement and it had involved reflection and involved being comfortable being alone with your own thoughts
Yeah.
to get space to like who am like to even know who you are as a person. And I love that because I don't know about you, but I think we live in a world where like we're always like self-care is this external thing.
Yeah.
Oh, girl, you need to get your nails done. Girl, both of us, show them your nails because they're fabulous. Both
Thank
of us
you.
are getting our nails done, right? Both of us have our hair looking nice. Like those are important too for rejuvenating, but those are like fleeting
Yeah.
in the moment of being able to feel sassy, but those aren't really the things that are refilling your
No.
cup. It's just kind of polishing and helping keep it all together. And it's that refilling. It's like, I got to spend time with me. I've got to be okay with my own thoughts. I've got
Hmm.
to learn how to let the intrusive thoughts stop. I got to stop fighting the intrusive thoughts and just let them flow in and flow back out.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know about you, but I used to think that so like if you go to a yoga class, you get to do shavasana, which is like the best part of yoga when you just
Yeah.
lay there in nothingness. And they're like, clear your mind, right? And I used to spend years fighting myself
Yeah.
in my peace because the thoughts would come in and I'd be like, Tiffany, what's wrong with you? Get it out, right? Like I'd fight them.
Yeah.
And I had one blessed, God bless her, this yoga teacher who said, just let them float in and out. And I was like, oh, my job wasn't to fight my thoughts or to solve my
Hmm.
problems or to obsess about the things and make meaning of them. It was truly to just exist and let
Ooh.
everything flow in and out because it just needed a place to go to. It's sorting itself out. And when I did that, all of a sudden I'd be like the last one there. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm supposed to get up. People are like moving. Because like I would truly like zen out. And you're just like, oh, I don't constantly. So for me, part of filling my cup is not fighting with myself.
Oh, Tiffany, that's a whole word. I mean, that's some good stuff right there. How long did it take you to learn?
Like a decade.
But my goodness. And can you tell the difference? Like, how do you feel now that you're not fighting yourself as much?
I have never, I mentioned to you before the call that I truly believe like a healthy human and a modern woman truly knows how to create harmony between her health, her relationships, and the way she earns money. And that has nothing to do with the size in her pants or the number on the scale, but how she's living each and every day in harmony.
Yeah.
I have never in my life been more alive, more at
Mm.
peace, more aligned with who I am as a whole person and fearless of like where we're going, even though I don't know what's in front of me.
Oof.
And that is something that for until very, very recent, till this exact moment, actually, I don't know that I've articulated out loud because I've been worried if I speak that into the world, that that could create a space where other people felt less than, or that they
Yeah.
could interpret that I was elite, felt elite to them, which isn't true at all. Like, I
Yeah.
really need to talk about that more and trust that my intentions are to show that we can crawl out of the dumpster fire even when we don't. I didn't know I was in a dumpster fire because the dumpster fire evolves, and I'm sure 20 years from now I'm gonna look back and be like, man, that girl was a hot mess and look what she did. Right, whereas right now I'm like, I've never felt more alive and cleared and centered in my life.
Yeah.
But it comes from, I stopped eating to lose weight and started eating to based off of how I wanted to feel. I stopped working out to lose weight or to prove to other people that I can. And I started moving my bodies in ways that made me feel alive and joyful and strong. And like in that transition, all of this other stuff that you've graciously allowed me to talk about myself for a moment got to come out, and I got to
Yeah.
discover this part of myself. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it's not the massages and the pedicures. They are nice and I do need them for other reasons, but that's not self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care is moving my body, practicing gratitude, eating in a way that makes me feel alive rather than eating like an asshole all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's beautiful. And I just gotta double click on what you said around you were scared to articulate that because of how other people would respond, and I resonate with that deeply because as I've come into a place this year, has been a really tough growth season for me. And I've sort of found my way to myself in a
mm-hmm,
way. So I've found my voice in a richer way. I'm learning to set boundaries in a different way. And for me, sort of my core trauma has always been around abandonment issues. And so, I've sort of unpacked all of the ways where I've shown up and people pleased and been, perfectionism and all of those things because one, I didn't want to be a burden on people, and two, I didn't want to be left behind, right? I wanted to fit in. I've always sought to fit in, to belong. And me doing that, I've always shrunk, right, to fit. And so recently I've become more comfortable with not fitting and like accepting my package and what's inside, what's out, and sort of not caring as much, not in a selfish way, but sort of not my peace and my joy not being dependent on whether or not they receive this package inside and out in a way that works for them, right? And so even being able to name that and talk about it feels a little taboo, especially when you grow up with Southern values in the
mm-hmm.
church, right? A woman shows up this way, your manners are this way, you're positioned this way in your marriage. Like those types of things seem so taboo. And yet here I am, I was designed this way, I was created this way. And so, yeah, I can't shrink back because that would be, I think, a service, almost a disrespect to the creator who created me. Right. So
And yeah, and it's so interesting. Like some things that were like ruminating in my brain as you were speaking were like, we go through iterations,
mhm.
right? We go through it, we know, and we tell other people, like, you can't dim your light. And I don't think we know we're doing it until we're past the moment. And then we're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was holding that insecurity in. And we
Yeah.
want to have that in the beginning when you first start doing it, like you have that like insecurity and that like, what is wrong with you moment, you knew better.
Yeah.
And then as you grow and you continue experiencing life, you're like, oh, this is part of the cycle as we cycle up to the next level and the next level of ourselves and like keep releasing the layers. And it's like, I don't have to feel silly that I wasn't articulating that because I didn't actually know that I was keeping that in until this exact moment in this conversation. And
Right.
so it's like, oh, I had to work my way through the muck first to become this person to realize that I was doing that. And
Hmm.
it's like, hold on. For those of you who are on YouTube, I just had a visual and I want to share it with you. Hold on, I need a marker.
I love it. I love it.
No, I this is the visual I just had. It's like us version 3.5. And
Uh-huh.
then there's like this raw, and there's like a lot of people. These dots will be people for sake of time.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like all these people around us, right? And then we like start doing new things and we start branching out. And then over here is like the next population of people who are now aligned with the visions and the goals and like the things that we stand for in our new identity. But this road in between can be like lonely and messy. And I think that's what you were talking about, in that like I'm not quite who I was, but I'm not who I'm becoming yet either. And like that takes some like just being okay, being alone and
Yeah.
creating distance between the people who you can see are not up for coming with us yet, or
Yeah.
maybe even ever. I don't know. And so like this was the visual, and I think that I just like crossed into like a new thing while we were talking from like where I was, because I was worried about leaving these people behind. But you can't
Ooh.
leave, but you can't leave people behind who don't want to come with you. And you can't leave people behind, like if they want to come with you, like they'll come. You, when they rise the tide, the ships all rise thing, whatever that quote is.
Listen, Tiffany, I gotta say, first of all, you
This
win
is so
because
insightful.
no, you win because this, first of all, is the first show that I've been a part of where there was a visual, real time. Okay. That's that's the first thing. Amazing. Like, I mean, definitely 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Love it so much. And then, yes, you just preached the whole word. Like,
I didn't mean, thank you. Why am I apologizing? Thank you.
yes.
But I think the kudos goes to you for being a person where it's safe to have an open, honest,
Mm.
like conversation where we can talk through those things. Because I don't know about you, but did you, maybe there was a season in your life for the women around you, it's like we're afraid to articulate the things out loud until they're perfect.
Yes.
And I've noticed the more I've grown and the more I've elevated and rised above, the more safe conversations like this are, because you're surrounded by people who are safe to have conversations like that with,
Yeah.
who also think weirdly with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful thing because, if you're stuck in sort of your life as you know it, and all you see is like what you've seen every day, and all you hear are the stories you've like heard every day, and you're telling yourself the same stories. And so it's easy to then believe like this is life and this is all it's ever going to be. But what I love is when like technology, like I know we before the show we were talking about like, oh my gosh, it's so unpredictable. Da, da, da. But oh my gosh, I'm thankful for it because I have so many opportunities for my life to be enriched, for my mind to be drawn out of my day to day, because I'm having a conversation with someone like you who's so aligned with how I think and where I am in my life. Or just maybe a week ago, I had a conversation with someone who was from Argentina but lives in New Zealand and might live somewhere else, and
Cool.
like, just living a whole different other kind of life, and was also talking about sort of being centered and healing and like choosing a path that like how else would I have, done
You
that
couldn't have.
and it be so on time for what I needed in my life at this moment, to see examples of people doing exactly what I'm striving to do or I'm in the process of doing, right?
I can't be more grateful for technology, because I can tell you, knowing where I came from, and it is beautiful and my family is lovely, but our world, if technology didn't exist, I would not have I would not have been able to see a world differently than the one I lived in, to
Mhm.
be able to go explore it and bring that back to the people I care about, who were not experienced and didn't get to experience that set of sunglasses, right?
Yeah.
And so like even though they think I'm crazy and like you do you, right? I truly believe that like I help share the sunglasses that I experience, all because I get to see how other people are living, and
Yeah.
I get to challenge what I believe to be true about the world every single day. And I think it's such a gift.
It is a gift. And back to your drawing, you're just amazing. It's a gift, and the middle part of that, it can be a little lonely. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Big Leap, Gay
Yeah.
Hendricks.
Cover has a fish in a
Yes.
fishbowl. Yeah.
Yes. And when it talks about all of those upper limiting beliefs and how we sort of keep ourselves at a certain level, keep ourselves a little small because of those 4 things, and of course, I'm not gonna remember them now, but I remember them being like, it's either, like, you're afraid to leave somebody behind, you're afraid that you're not enough, like, all of these things, and that leave people behind or not fitting in has always sort of been the thing that keeps me, like I said before, playing at a certain level, but when you're in that process, like you just kinda laid out, it's some people I think stay behind because it's like, what are the people gonna think of me? Am I gonna be called the weirdo at Thanksgiving? And how you feel about that, how you reconcile that is, can be tough for folks, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially if you've always fit in. Me, you don't know this, but I have naturally curly hair, and this is like a very rare once in a 10-year experience that you're experiencing
Mhm.
right now with me straight hair. And so like I've always been the kid with frizzy curly hair. Like I was like the pudgy kid with curly hair, and I was the oldest, and where most of my classmates were the youngest, so they were doing things at a faster rate than I was. I was still playing with Barbies in sixth grade, and
Yeah.
thank goodness I was still playing with Barbies in sixth grade and not
Yeah.
doing things with boys like the other girls. Like, come on now. But like, so I've always, but I think it does get a little harder if you were the person who always had a peer group and you always fit in or were the leader of the pack to
Yeah.
to like want to step away
Mhm.
and be on your own for a minute while you figure out where you're going. Because like you said, it's lonely. It's like I don't quite fit in where I came from, but
Yeah.
yet those people rightfully aren't like accepting me either because I'm still a little bit of a mess compared to where they are.
Mhm.
you know how did
Yeah.
you find out, like, what is your story around figuring out that you truly get to design this the way that you want it to be?
Mm. You've got some really great questions. So I had someone ask me earlier this week, like, how did it was a different version, but it was specifically around my career. So my
Mhm.
story, in terms of professionally, my first career, I was a professional dancer, choreographer, and I was a dance educator. I got a master's in dance and just did a ton of like traveling and moving around. Here's the thing though. I came from a family where the mandate was always go to college, get a job, right? So I went to college. I didn't grow up feeling like I wanted to be a certain thing when I was younger. Just kind of, lived and I was always performing. I was always dancing since a young age. And I didn't have like I had a commercial dance career, but I didn't have exposure to that type of career as a kid because we didn't have cable. So I didn't grow up watching Michael Jackson videos or Janet Jackson videos like most dancers did. So I go to college and my mom's like, don't major in dance. And because she knows me, right? And so I didn't. And you don't need a degree in dance to dance. And quite honestly, university dance programs sort of mold you for like dance company life, like modern ballet companies. That wasn't my jam. So it was fine, but like, what else am I gonna do? She also said, "Don't go there and, like, try out for cheerleading squad either," which I absolutely did, and I cheered all 4 years because I'm a performer, right? And so, I got out of college, I majored in psych on a pre-med track. Psych was lovely. Pre-med, I mean, it's fine, but I didn't wanna do that. And so, I got out of college, I'm studying for the MCAT, and I remember this nudging on the inside of me that was like, I hate studying for this. This sucks a lot. I'm doing it because I'm supposed to, right? But I don't want to live a life where all day, every day, I feel this way. I want to live a life where I love what I'm doing. And I don't that was literally I can't take credit for that. I just came here with that instinct because my whole family, everybody like you get the job, you keep the job so you can like sustain your living and make sure your family's okay. So my brother and I, the do things our own way. I go off to LA to build a dance career. My brother, like, becomes a musician. And our families have these like
Artsy
very
family.
but my parents have these very, like my mom's in the tax world in the oil and gas industry and has done that for decades. And my dad has done, like sort of like working with his hand, welding, pipe fitting kind of stuff his whole life too. So here we are, these artists. But to answer your question, it was just like I couldn't. Like, so there is something within me that, like, the idea of staying stuck in this space that doesn't fit or feel good scares me more than the idea of trying to do something I've never done before. And so it's a blessing and a curse, but that has literally propelled me to go out and do all of these different things that I've done. And to your point, sort of expose my family, right, to those things, sort of broaden their minds with me going out to live in all these different states and work overseas and, like change careers and do all of those types of things.
Yeah. There was a little voice in the back of my head just then. So I want to talk to our listener right now who's in that do you think who's still listening? They're processing all the things, and that little whisper just was like, who do they think they are that their families were so wrong that they needed to fix them?
Mm,
And that's not it at all. If that is what you're processing, it's not that the two of us felt like our families needed to be fixed. Our families were perfectly perfect the way they were for their lives.
hmm
And at the same time, there's always someone who is opening a door to something new that shows another possibility and another option. And for me, the options that I open are very different than the options that my mom opened and are very different from the options that my brother opened. But we all have our own paths where we're doing the same thing for everyone. And so it's not a matter of it's my responsibility and they have to be better because we can't handle that, or I needed to get out of there. Like, no,
Mm-mm.
my brother has gone on adventures that have opened my eyes to things that I would never cross paths on the journey and the path that I'm on. And so I
Mhm.
think we do that for each other.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and also let let me be clear, I am obsessed with my family, like, I adore them, would not be where I am without them, and so where we might have had differing opinions at points in my life, they have done nothing but support me. So even when I was like, "I'm not doing any of this, I'm moving to LA, Imma be a dancer," and my parents were like, "Excuse me, what?" Like, even though we had those moments, they also still supported me and drove me up there and were like, "I don't know how to help you, but
But
Godspeed,
here
and
we
I got your
are.
Godspeed, and I got your back." And they've exposed me to amazing things. My mom was the one that said, like, "Hey, you gotta get out of here. Like, you can't go to college here. We're too close. Go see the world," kind of thing. So they've literally always, it's so cheesy, and this is now the second time I'm saying this week. Literally, like beaches, wind beneath my wings, so my family. Like,
I love that.
do you know what I mean? And so it's not ever a knock on them, but to your point, they chose very specific paths,
Based
sort
off
of.
of their experiences and the world that they have experienced themselves.
Right, right, exactly. And
I
then
think
I
that was
have
a
my own
big
path. Yeah.
that was a big girl moment in my healing journey, because like most young adults, I went through my period of I'm the way I am because my parents sucked, right? Like it's all their fault. They messed me up. They did this wrong. They did that. How dare them? I think we all go through that season as we're trying to figure out who we want to be as adults.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest moments and the thing that brought peace back and helped my mom and I stop butting heads was me recognizing that my mom made all of the decisions that she made based off of the world she lived in.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to fault her for. And
Yeah.
now, even when I do things that she thinks are crazy, it's just like, okay. Because also, her reality of what she experiences every single day is vastly different than mine. So,
Yeah.
of course, we're going to have different opinions about how things should be.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think that being able to give someone space to be themselves and not make it about you every time is one of those big girl level ups moments. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you did this in your own version, from your parents, and they did it from their parents. This is how life works.
Yeah. Yeah. That word, acceptance, is really huge. I think it's
Mm.
important for us. I think in this season, I've learned how important self acceptance is and how I show up in the world. And I've also learned in relationship with other people, which is probably a whole other conversation we'll have to have. I think the degree to which you accept yourself or the degree to which someone accepts themselves is the degree to which they're able to accept someone else, if that makes sense. And so if I'm looking for someone to radically accept me as who I am, radically accept me and feel belonging here, they might not be able to do that um, in a way that I need if they're not accepting themselves first, right? Does that make sense?
Mm.
So it might be that they're saying, "How dare you do X, Y, and Z if they haven't yet given themselves permission to do the thing, or they are yet, you know what I mean? So
Also meta.
yeah, like
What
that
does
acceptance part.
self-acceptance mean to you?
Ooh, it's that the grace that I give to other people, I'm giving to myself first in a
Mhm.
very like, I can't expect me. I'm human. I have to accept my humanity and my divinity. I have how I am wired, how I am made. It's okay. It is flawed and beautiful and enough. And there's no way I can work my way into enoughness. I can't overperform my way into being enough. This version of me, as I am today in this moment and in every moment, is enough. And learning to accept that and to sort of not change it based on my surroundings, the people I'm around, the conditions I'm around, or just say, when I get to this thing, then I'll just be, if I lose this much more weight, it'll be great. I'll be happier. If I make this much more money, or when I finally do the thing, like none of none of that can matter. Like all I have is this moment, and who I am in this moment has to be enough.
Mm, I just want to sit in that for a second. Because I think everything you just said was like such a gift. And if you're listening, I really want you to hit the rewind button for like the last 60 minutes and like listen to that one more time and really let that penetrate, because there is just so much, and maybe even just penetrate on repeat, because there's just so much in that layers of processing and of becoming and of being and of seeing and then experiencing again, right? And it's just mm, for the woman who's listening right now, who is can see, like we're articulating, we're giving words to some of the feelings that she's had but hasn't quite had the words to give to
Mm-hmm.
it, and she's like trying to find her way through the messiness to her next island of people.
Mm-hmm.
What would you give her as like a first step to really help her make some momentum, take a step forward and get some momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I love that you asked this question, and it just speaks to the alignment of this conversation because we didn't discuss it actually going this way. We just let the conversation go where it's going. And we haven't talked a lot about professional work, but that's exactly what I do in my day to day is sort of help people bridge in their professional lives from the who they were to who they're becoming, understanding what that is, how to navigate all of that, and specifically how to give words to that is the thing that I do. And the very first step that I hands down recommend is you have to go in. Like, it's not an outside job. It's not a thing where you can look around and sort of take your movement from there. I absolutely recommend that you first assess like what's happening in this moment. What are your strengths? What are your interests, your curiosities, your causes, what's bothering you? What's worked in the past? What hasn't worked in the past? Like what's emerging for you in your identity in this moment, and get clear on that first, because if you're trying to move without sort of having that initial alignment, you're literally just going to be throwing darts in the dark. Is that how it goes? Spaghetti at the wall, all of those sort of
All
terms.
those phrases.
It's not going to be fruitful, and you're going to be stuck, and you're going to be like more, the transition will be challenging enough because it's uncertain, like it's unknown. It becomes harder, and then you start to question like, oh, should I have done this? Let me go backwards because it's familiar. If you don't first do the reflection. And so I have personal experience going from a dance career to like a corporate space where I was just kind of like for a year, like, what the heck am I doing? You know, like what is this? What is this space? And it was not until I got clear on who I was, what was important to me, what I felt like was mine to be doing in this space, that I like then I was able to sort of see open doors and walk through them, you know?
So, so good. How do people connect with you?
Mm. I'd love to connect with people on LinkedIn. I was actually just sort of LinkedIn stalking you before this. I'm going to make sure we connect afterwards. But connect with me on LinkedIn, Shaté Hayes. But I also, to this point, you know, have a little resource where it walks you through the assessment and the reflection of that first phase that I was just talking about. Like, who am I? what are some tools that I can use to help me do this reflection and assessment. I've done the mental lift for you and put some other resources in terms that you can keep researching on your own. So it literally is just like pointing you in the direction of an inward reflection at lightmycareermatch.com.
And I'll link that in the show notes too, so it'll be easy to just click and go. Oh my goodness. What a beautifully, like, unscripted, just pure conversation.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so incredibly much for spending your time with us today. And with that, everyone, that was Two Humans Talking. See you next time. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this episode as inspiring and actionable as I did. If you're ready to stop just surviving and start living a life where your health, your relationships, and your career work together without the burnout, then it's time that you join the Modern Woman Society. Inside, I'll walk you through my life GPS system, a proven blueprint to help you have it all while thriving. You'll gain tools, coaching, and the kind of clarity that brings big dreams to life without the stress, overwhelm, guilt, and shame that the modern woman is used to. We're going to create a life where you feel energized and excited to wake up every day and fulfilled when you put your head on the pillow. Click the link below to learn more and join countless other women who are redefining success on their terms. Because the life you've dreamed about is closer than you think. I'll see you on the inside.